What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 104 of the Call Podcast. This is Cubwood here with Sauce Sartori, and today's special guest is volleyball and basketball player at Oklahoma, Ashlynn Dunbar. Ashlynn, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
We're really excited to have you on and talk about the fact that you're a dual sport athlete at a D1 college, which is awesome. But before we get into that, you've had some comments that have been kind of viral, I would say, and it kind of pertains to the whole shut up and dribble conversation that we've been hearing from some during the times we're in right now with the protests and everything happening. I'm gonna read a little bit of that. I know you know exactly what you said, but maybe some of our listeners do not. And so I'm gonna read a little bit of that, and then we'll have a conversation about it, I guess. But you said when they say that stick to sports, it's like they see us as a pawn in a game to be used for winning championships, to be used for winning titles. When it comes to our outside lives, that really matters. If we didn't exist, we don't get to play these games. If you don't care about if you don't care about us outside these sports, there is no sports without us. It's dehumanizing to me, and I think that your comments are very well timed, because we need, I feel like, this is just my feeling, that we need people with platforms, large platforms like yourself, professional athletes across the country, to kind of stand up and show out, so I found that your comments are very well timed, and I'd like to have a conversation about, I guess, a little bit more in depth on that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I feel like these comments, I've seen them just so many times, which is basically why my posts have come about during this time period. And I just feel like so many people, especially athletes and especially at the college level, are so afraid to speak out on certain things or use their voices because of repercussions, losing their scholarships, not being able to play, getting benched, stuff like that. And I think it's just ridiculous to fear for something like that when you are literally just speaking about your life experiences and human rights that you feel you deserve. And so I didn't want to be one of those people. And so I'm fortunate enough to go to a university where I know both of my coaching staffs will support me and back me up no matter what. And they're going to allow me to be the person that I want to be. And so I think for everyone who has a larger platform, I think it's a lot of fear. Is most of the time they try to scare us into being silent. Colin Kaepernick hasn't had a job in the NFL since he took a stance on this same exact topic, and it's basically like people having to decide, do they want their career, or do they want to stand up for what they believe in? And I feel like you should never have to choose between the two. I think they both go hand in hand, and so that's really why I posted about it and brought those comments up.
It's funny that you say that athletes are in fear, because today the NCAA came out encouraging athletes to vote and then voice their opinions on this topic. And I think that's great that they said that now, because before we talked about this before, and I was like, why did they come out with it now? And then now that answered my question.
Well, and I also feel like it's a fairly mainstream thing to say for people who don't want the protests and don't want to think deeply about the conversations that we're supposed to be having right now. It's just like, well, when LeBron was on Carrie Champion's podcast, and he was speaking out against Trump and how divisive he is, and then the next day Laura Ingraham on Fox News says, literally, shut up and dribble. First of all, how rude.
Fire her.
How rude, you know what I mean? I mean, if anybody is like he's never caused any problems, never had any drama, and been like just the epitome of like somebody to look up to, it's LeBron James, and he speaks out and automatically is like discredited for everything, it feels like. You know what I mean? It's just this shut up and dribble comment. Like, if he's, like you said, like if he is just a pawn in the game. And it is humanizing, and it is troubling to think that people think that way. Like, they watch you play on the field, and then to think like there's nothing that goes on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And then it's also like you see that comment, but then you see how she feels about Tom Brady speaking out on his opinion. And he has the right to his opinion and to say what he wants. but LeBron James, who's an African American athlete, doesn't. And so I think that just proves the entire point of what we've been talking about.
Yeah, that fragile, what is it, fragile whiteness or fragile white privilege, or however you want to put it, right? Where, you know, people who feel as if they are in power and they're being challenged by the color of somebody else's skin. It makes them feel scared, and they ball up and attack people. And I hate to use the same word over and over, but it is troubling that people think that way.
Yeah.
Now, you've been to some of the protests in Norman, and I'm curious, what's kind of been the situation down there? We've seen so many videos online of things going wrong, but we've also seen a lot of videos of things going right, and the protests continue. Even I think we're 3 weeks in now, which is awesome that these things continue to happen. So what are some of the things that are happening in Norman, Oklahoma?
Yeah, so the 2 protests that I attended in Norman have been peaceful. Nothing's gone wrong. Everyone's just gathered around and spoken and listened, and marched and walked with each other. And so the first one I went to was kind of a smaller one, and it was a walk to the police station. And that one was emotional, but it was also eye-opening and very educational, just because if you've gone to a protest, often here anyways, people will talk and tell their stories about what they've experienced themselves, and then to hear them talk is just like, it's troubling, but it's also like very educational for people who may not believe that this situation is as serious as it is, or like that this isn't something that's really a problem. And then it's also nice to see the people who also aren't Black people or people of color, but who are allies and who are speaking up, and especially younger generations. They're very powerful, and they have very big ideas. And so it's just nice to see how things are changing. And then the second one that I went to was massive. There were so many people, and it was overwhelming, and it was emotional because, and for me, like, Norman's just a small little college town.
Right.
I don't even know how many people live here, but to see the number of people who came out to the protests, it was just really, really encouraging, just because it's just like all these people support me, and it just makes you feel like you're not alone. And it was a lot of the OU, I think every single athletics staff was there that I saw at the protest, and it was
That's
just
awesome.
nice. Yeah, it was just nice to know that we have this support system at our university, because a lot of people can't say that. But it's been peaceful, it's been awesome, and it's been great just to hear people's experiences and just to see all the people who want to be educated.
It's great to see that Oklahoma is very supportive of this whole situation. Like, Lincoln Riley's like all for it right now, and I love that. I lost my train of thought, actually. So I lost my train. I'm just like really happy they're very supportive. That's like basically all I was saying.
Yeah, and Ashlynn, I think from the conversations that I've had, the conversations that we've had on this podcast, I think the number one thing that, you know, especially me as a white guy, like, the best thing I can do is educate myself. And, you know, you talk about those educational moments and those moments of upliftingness where it's like, hey, it's not just me and other Black people, it's me and all of us that are here doing that. And I wish I had the opportunity to go to one of the protests and hear the people speak and be educated in that way. I can only imagine how powerful that is. That's really cool that you've had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it was awesome. And me and a couple other athletes even spoke.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just awesome. It was hard to speak because you're just so overwhelmed. And I remember like just standing on the podium, just like shaking, because it was just so emotional. And it's such a hard topic to talk about at times, even for Black people. And obviously it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's one that needs to be had.
Yeah.
So
100%.
So let's kind of like move to the future. Like, let's look at this 20 years from now. What do you think the moments that are being had right now and within the past couple weeks, what do you think is going to be yielded from all of this?
Obviously the goal is just like to not live in the same society over and over again and not seeing anything change. Because I remember, I don't know, a few years ago when I was in the same position hearing about the same stories, And then every year just recurring, same exact situations. Everything's happening over and over again. And I think this time it's just like, we're not going to allow the conversation to die down. And so hopefully what's going to happen is people are going to continue to talk about it. And over the next 20 years or so, obviously it's not going to be something that's going to change or happen overnight. But we're hoping that, my biggest thing I know for me is that I don't want to have the conversation with my kids that this is how you need to stay alive if you ever get pulled over by the cops or anything like that. So
yeah, that is something, you know, when I've heard at least like the videos that pop up on Twitter or wherever I see them, and it's people talking about how they have to, or rather black people talking about how they have to educate their kids on an encounter with the police. It's like, shit, like that's like that's the thought that comes to mind. It's like, I could not imagine being in that situation, and just like I guess the fear and like the not knowing and all that. It's crazy. So I hope that happens too. I think it's something that has been around for far too long, like the ideologies and the concepts that we kind of function with in this societal contract. They've just gone on for too long, and it's time for those changes. And I'm really happy that you're using your voice and your platform. That's so cool.
thank you. Yeah. It's just like something that's very personal for me, I feel like, because my dad's been racially profiled before. And that's been a scary moment. That was before I was even born. So had that situation gone a little differently, I wouldn't even be here today, and I wouldn't even have the opportunity to use my platform or do anything along those lines. So just being thankful for what I have and knowing that I have it for a reason.
And then we talk about this on the podcast a lot with the last few guests we've had. The silver lining behind like the coronavirus and now like the new mosquito virus that's coming around is that this is helping push this forward in making a change. And I think it's basically the best silver lining out of this whole corona quarantine thing. No one's working, so get your ass outside.
Yeah. And and also it's bittersweet for both ends, because it's like you don't have anything to do, so you might as well go protest. But then at the same time, people are just like, well, I'm still scared I'm going to get sick, so I'm not going to go protest. But I definitely think that it's worth it. For me personally, I probably should be more concerned, but I'm not really too concerned about getting the coronavirus.
Coronavirus?
If it happens, it happens. And that's just what was supposed to happen to begin with. So
it really truly has been a perfect storm, I guess, for the success of these protests and the longevity of these protests as well. It's because nothing else is happening in the news. So this is what we're going to talk about. And then at the same time, we have nothing going on, so we're going to the protests. Yeah, it's been a complete perfect storm. I'm curious if you have heard about the More Than a Vote organization that LeBron and some other entertainers and athletes have created.
I have not heard about it.
Okay, I think this is really cool. Basically, it's LeBron James. It's LeBron James, Trae Young, Jalen Rose, Alvin Kamara, and Kevin Hart are some of the names that have kind of grouped together to fund this More Than a Vote organization. And it's designed to encourage African Americans to vote and fight the factors that may cause disenfranchisement. So basically, LeBron's saying, we're going to give you the background of how to vote, and what they're trying to do, the other side, to stop you from voting. I think that's really important.
I think voting is going to be huge. And we talk about it a lot, not just for the president, but for people in your state, at the local levels and everything. Like, you have to start from the bottom up. And I know Michelle Obama talks about it in her book, but just like for everyone who felt that it was so important to vote to get Obama into office, why didn't those same people feel the importance to vote to keep Donald Trump out of office? So just like thinking about how powerful your vote is. And it's just like, I know a lot of people are just really firm believers that my vote won't matter. But if you think about all the people who think that, if they would just vote, how much of a difference it would make. And so I know for me, like, I'm definitely voting. I don't know who for yet, but I know that it's not for Donald Trump. If someone wants to vote for him, that's fine, not my decision. But your vote matters, and I think it's so important that people know that.
And then you got the people like me that are like, I don't do politics. I don't know what's going on. And then people are like, just do the best guest you have. Who do you think would be better in office? And I'm like, well, not that tan guy.
Yeah, I'm not really big on politics either. You know, I have my beliefs and morals on certain small things,
Yes.
but I'm not really in the political world. But I think for me also is just knowing how Donald Trump acts as just like a person aside
Yes.
of politics.
Yes.
Just like how his personality is. That's not someone who I would want running my country. Like that's not someone I would ever want to be friends with or be associated with. Like that's just not my type of person. And so it was just like so shocking to me that there's people who agree with him, and I would hope that people voted him into office specifically because they thought that he'd be a good businessman, not because they valued what he says as a person or what his morals may be, because that would stress me out even more than it already does to the fact that we voted him into office.
No, I think that there are factions of people out there. I think that there is a large faction of people out there that support him because they think he would be a good businessman and run the country like a business. But unfortunately, I also believe that there's a large faction of people out there who, for a long time, didn't have a way to voice the way that they felt inside, like that just uncaged rage that they felt inside, and they didn't have that outlet or that person telling them that it was okay to feel that way. And then along came the Cheeto Dusted man with the fake hair, and he gave them that figurehead to kind of believe in. And obviously that's a line down the middle. There are people who believed he would be a good businessman, and there are people that saw him as like Jesus Christ himself. And I'm with you that the people who saw him as a deity are that's troubling.
Yeah.
Like his attitude literally could start a war itself. He's that ignorant.
Yeah, and like it's just crazy to me. Like I will just never understand. Like if someone, a female who voted for him, I know a lot of females who support him, and it's just like for me, like I would feel like I don't value myself if I would vote for someone who treats females like that. Someone who's discriminate against people of color. I feel like you just don't value yourself or respect yourself enough to vote for someone else, no matter how good of a businessman you think that he is.
We're not saying Joe Biden's any better because he's a creep as well.
Yeah, and so that's why I don't know who I'm voting for yet.
It's
like not Trump.
Who's the lesser creep? Yeah,
right.
Like,
that's what it is, and I'm just hoping that maybe someone else will just really come out strong that I can give my vote to. But until then, I guess I'm gonna have to go for Joe.
Yeah, you're either voting for the guy who's angry and mean, and he knows that he's those things and continues to be those things, or you vote for the guy who's in cognitive decline and doesn't realize really the things that he's saying. Like when he said
he can't finish the sentence.
He can't finish a sentence, but he said in specific one time, like, poor kids are just as good as important as white kids. And I went, oh no.
No, he said they're just as bright. They're just as bright.
Whatever adjective, man. Oh my God. Or the one where he's talking about how the kids would play with his leg hair in the pool.
Yes,
like,
I was going to bring that up. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was personally a very big fan of Obama. And the thing that I like a lot about Obama is that he had a really strong woman by his side, and Michelle Obama is brilliant. She's educated, and I think she was a great first lady, whereas now Trump's wife is literally there to be there.
She hates him, so.
Yeah, she's literally just a trophy wife. She doesn't have any influence over him. And I feel like that's also an issue, is that I feel like he's married to her because he knows that he has power over her. And I don't think that he would feel comfortable being in a mutually beneficial relationship. I feel like he has to be the number one, the one in power, the one leading. And I think that's also an issue when it comes to running a country or running anything really, because you have to have people that you trust, people that you have to confide in, and other opinions that you have to listen to in order to be successful. And so
be willing to kind of concede in certain areas too, right?
Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's very strong-headed and just he's too into himself that he won't consult anyone or he won't let anyone sway how he feels about something.
Yeah, it's
I'm literally just picturing all the videos of like him trying to hold her hand and then she smacks his hand.
yeah,
That-
he's a troubling character to say the least. But listen, this has I love these conversations. I love that we get to have these conversations, and albeit a small one, I'm happy that Cub and I get to use our platform to spread these messages, have these conversations, and try to educate people who maybe don't get it. And maybe a conversation that we have here is one that will make somebody get it. They're like, oh, now I understand. Because it could literally be one sentence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'll be open. In the beginning, when the protests kind of turned into the riots and there was the looting, I was one of those people that kind of sat on the fence and was like, the looting kind of gets me, whatever. And then I saw somebody. It was one or two sentences, and the person said, "Somebody lost his life. Why do I care about a building?" And I was like, I get it. I get it.
And another thing with that too, I think it's just like it just feels like when you say stuff like that, it's just like you're telling someone how to react to something, you know? Like, do I agree with looting? No. I mean, I personally wouldn't do it. I don't think I would want to, but I understand why people are so angry. And I could understand why that would start to occur because when this like situation happened, like at first I was just livid. I was pissed. I was angry. And then following the events, it's just like I was like, I need to educate people. So I would have conversations with people and try and educate them and say things. And then when people retaliate with just ignorant responses that are just unnecessary, then I get pissed off all over again and it makes me angry. And so like I understand why people are so mad. And especially in that exact sense, it's like you go out to peacefully protest and then someone says something or something happens that just like sparks a little flame in you and then it pisses you off and you respond to it.
Yeah.
So I understand and I understand why people are mad. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, do I agree with looting? No, but I'm not going to tell someone how to feel and how to react to a situation.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about how like some of the looting made sense, like looting Target because they couldn't get milk. But then in Chicago, they're looting Nike Town, like one of the biggest supporters of the Black community. And it's like, really?
Yeah. And that's also where it like gets, there's so much that you have to look at because, you know, there's looting from all people of different colors.
Everybody's looting.
Yeah, it's just everyone. And it's like,
I saw a white dude running out of the van store and he dropped 4 boxes like, oh.
Yeah, so it's just like I think the hard part about this is that it's being interpreted as like all Black people are the ones starting this and they're the ones who are doing it. And that's a part of the issue is that that's not the case.
Right.
Everyone's doing it. And sometimes we're not even the ones starting it. So it's just kind of like putting the blame on us where it doesn't need to be put.
I was just going to say that pisses me off the most is where like the ignorant people are like, they're looting. Like it's just Black people looting. And it's like, shut up. It's not just Black people. Please shut up.
Yeah. Now, this is a sports podcast, and you are an athlete. I want to say I acknowledge that anything that we say moving forward is probably trivial in comparison to the things that we've just covered. But there are some other things that we need to talk about as it pertains to Ashlynn Dunbar. Now, you're a 2-sport athlete. You play basketball and you play volleyball for Oklahoma University. We talked to Jenna Gray a couple weeks ago, and she's also a 2-sport athlete. And the thing that we didn't ask her that we want to ask you is how insane is your schedule being a 2-sport athlete and a full-time student?
So my schedule is actually not that crazy because I actually took 4 years off of basketball. I just came back to it this past season.
Okay.
So I was only focusing on volleyball. And so this year I'm a grad student. So my class schedule is small to none. Like I have class once every week, and it's like a 3-hour class, and then that's it. I have my days off. I have to go to workouts and I have lifts, but like that's it. I don't do anything but go to class once a week and then focus on my sport. So like that's been really good for me because I've just had so much time to do what I want and to really focus in on the things that I feel like I need to be successful. So I'm like, I get my homework done, and then after that, it's straight athletics that I focus on. You know, like I go to my lift, I go shoot around in the gym. Like I have so much free time to just put in extra work if I want to. And then I go to practices, and then after that, I just do whatever I want, really. So being in grad school, I would say definitely has been easier for me, but I would say that trying to balance everything and be a 2-sport athlete for the past 4 years would have definitely been difficult.
Imagine that, going to grad school and saying it's been easier.
Yeah, she's really living the dream. She's like, I go to one class and then I get to play sports.
Yeah,
That's
I
everybody's
was
dream.
honestly a little nervous about it because like school is not my thing. Like anyone who knows me, like I can't do it. And having 3-hour classes honestly has been terrible too, because I'm not the type of person who can sit in one spot for a long period of time. Like I have to be moving, like I got to be on the go all the time. Even like whenever I'm here and I don't have a class, I don't have basketball, like our off days are probably the worst days for me because I literally just do nothing and I just have to find something. I'll go to the grocery store, I'll get groceries, I'll do something, but I can't sit in the house and do nothing. So yeah.
That's what I specialize in. I specialize in doing nothing.
Yeah, I've actually got to catch up on a lot of sleep. I don't think I've had this much sleep since I've been in college, so that's been good.
I can relate to that 100%. I hate, like, quarantine. I thought I was gonna lose my mind, but then I found walks, and he makes fun of me because I go on 2 walks every day because I have nothing to do. I don't play video games. Now I read. Now I'm a nerd.
Yeah, I've done literally. I started so many projects. Like I started painting, I started coloring, I started doing this and this and that, and I was like kind of limited during quarantine because I tore my ACL at the end of our season, so I had to actually postpone my surgery 2 months because of coronavirus. So, so I recently 6 weeks ago I had my surgery finally, and so like the highlights of my days are going to rehab, which I've hated for the past 4 years because I've always been in rehab. And then now I'm just like, oh yes, I get to go and work out and get stronger. And I never thought that I would ever say that, but I'm really excited about it.
That's crazy. So what's that? What was that like? That you said it was 2 months you had to push it back?
Yeah.
What, I mean, how was everyday life? Even like
It was definitely a frustrating situation for me. I don't usually get too down about things. Like when I tore my ACL, I was like, it happens to everyone, you know, it is what it is. I'll get my surgery and I'll be back and it'll be fine. So I was just like, I'm not really stressed about it. And then I was like, okay, 2 weeks or a week after I got hurt, it was like, okay, we're going to schedule your surgery. All right, fine. My surgery got canceled. And I was like, all right, we're going to push it back another week. And I was like, okay, that's fine. The next week comes, it gets canceled again. It's like, all right, we're not going to have it anytime soon, and we're going to have to wait till the stay-at-home order gets lifted before we can even reconsider what date we're going to have it. So that's when it got frustrating for me because my body's a little weird, so I did swell up. My knee didn't swell whenever I tore my ACL. I was perfectly fine. I didn't have any atrophy. I didn't lose any muscle in my leg until like 3 weeks after. So like that was the frustrating part, is if I would have had my surgery, rehab probably would have been a little bit easier. But definitely working on building my leg back up. So
Sauce has an odd fetish to this.
I wouldn't call it a fetish.
It's a fetish.
It's not a fetish at all.
It's a fetish. He wants to experience tearing his ACL and then the rehab to build it back up and the surgery. He wants to know what it feels like. And I just think it's the weirdest thing to want to experience. And whenever someone brings it up, I'm like, I have to say this. I'm sorry, I have to say it.
Well, it's actually funny because I kind of understand where you are, because when people say something hurts, I'm just kind of like, does it really hurt? Or is it just... So my boyfriend actually tore his ACL, the same exact one, probably 4 months before I tore mine. So
Okay.
he was going through his rehab. I'm like, oh, that sucks. And he's like, man, this is bad. I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, you're just being dramatic. And then here we go. 4 months later, tore my ACL. And I'm just like, okay, so it hurts a little bit. It's definitely not as bad as I thought it would be. But he did have a little bit rougher patch than me because his knee ended up getting infected. So that was a whole other situation for him. But I didn't have that issue. And so he was like, oh my God, like once the amnesia wears off and you wake up, like your knee's going to be in so much pain. Like you're going to have to take your meds.
Just completely making the panic and anxiety set in.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I'm getting home from my surgery and I'm like, oh my God, like once these wear off, my leg's gonna hurt. I won't be able to sleep. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it's funny because I actually couldn't even take my meds because they weren't working well for me. So I was literally on a leave by like 3 days post-op and I was just chilling. Like it didn't hurt. I wasn't having any issues. So I was just kind of like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought because I was really stressed. And then I was just kind of like, it is what it is. But I would definitely say the first few weeks after surgery was terrible just because it's like you're immobile and like you're really trying to do like basic things like walking, which was hard.
Going to the bathroom, like sitting down on the toilet, I would imagine is an issue.
Yeah. So
she's like, I just rubbed some dirt on it and I was fine. I don't know what you were complaining about.
Yeah. But it's definitely something you have to experience to understand.
For me, what it is, I think, is that the experience of it, like I'm just curious of like, it's a devastating injury. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up in Chicagoland. I watched Derrick Rose. I watched his graham cracker knees crumble and all the time. You know what I mean? Like I watch that happen. I think that's probably where it started. And I would just sit there and I'm like, what's that process like? Because it's so almost mechanical when it comes to like professional athletes or athletes in general. It's like you tear your ACL 6 to 8 months later, you're back. But like for regular people meaning not highly tuned athletes, it could take 8 to 10 and some people 8 to 12 months to get back. So I guess it's not necessarily like a fetish, like I want it to happen, but if it did, I would be excited to have that experience.
You do. It's going to happen at a slow pitch.
No, my fear is my Achilles. I'm so scared my Achilles is going to pop one day.
KD.
Yeah, or Kobe.
Ooh.
I'm going to tear my Achilles and just go outside and knock down 2 free throws, and then you'll have to call me Kobe. So doing media and stuff like that, I'm sure one of the things that media members ask you all the time has to be about your dad being a Globetrotter.
That's probably like the number one topic of conversation.
Yeah.
When people ask about me or they find out, or like when I first got here, they're like, oh, your dad's a Globetrotter. We're going to have to do a piece on this. Like we need to know the details. And that's like the first thing that comes up. And like, even in high school, whenever I played sports, it was like daughter of Globetrotter does this, this, and this. So definitely the center and conversation anytime people find out. So I just keep it to myself, but it's always someone figures it out at some point. And once they do, it's just kind of like run away with it.
Well, like go ahead, Cub.
It was literally written in every article that I read about you. And then I wrote something down about it and Sauce was like, take that out. She's definitely going to ask that 500 times. We're like, all right, sorry.
Well, it was a question. It was a question basically. It was going to be like, oh, what moves has your dad taught you? And he found the answer. He found you answered it somewhere. And it was like, none of them. And I was like, I guarantee you that's an answer she told them being almost kind of facetious. Like she's like, I'm not answering this question. None of them.
He actually has not like taught me anything.
Really?
I can't even spin a ball on my finger. Like I've done it like maybe 2 times out of luck, but I've been working on that because I really just feel embarrassed that I can't do it because I feel like it's something I should be able to do. And my brother's also a Globetrotter, so now he's doing stuff. and I'm kind of competitive, and I don't like the fact that he can do stuff that I can't. So now I've been working on it.
I have a question. Does your dad have the Globetrotter theme song as his ringtone?
No, he doesn't, but he has some interesting ringtones to say.
The whistles.
Hey, I think I have a move you could pull off. Like, I could just explain it to you right now. Here we go. You ready?
God.
Okay.
Off the heezy. Just throw it off of somebody's forehead.
Perfect.
And then go right past them.
Perfect. Yeah,
That-
I'll definitely try that one. I'll definitely try
They'll
that
have a concussion and you'll have 2 points.
one.
Seems like a fair trade to me.
Yeah, it does.
So
it does.
when you were at San Diego or San Diego State?
San Diego State.
San Diego State. Big brain. You played volleyball there, and then you came over to Oklahoma, and that's when you picked up basketball again.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of like Michael Jordan aspect to it, where it was like your dad wanted you to play this sport, so you're like, I'll try it one more time?
No, it's actually funny how it happened. So my freshman year of college, I remember going to a women's basketball game at San Diego State, and I was like, I could definitely play college basketball. Like, I could do this. And I remember calling my dad. I was like, hey, I just want you to know, at some point I'm going to play college basketball. And he was like, oh, like, no, you're not. Like, and I'm like, oh, no, I am. Like, I promise you I will. And
He's like, these girls are
so when I told him that I got on the team, I was like, Dad, I'm doing it. Like, I'm playing basketball. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And he's super excited about it. But I think that he just was like, she's just being Ashlynn. She's saying something like, this isn't going to happen.
And then she called her dad again and said, hey, I can't dribble and do inside shots. I need help on that. How did you overcome that? Because you were just a shooter. What I read, you were a great shooter.
Yeah, so in high school, I was like a 4'5" man. I wasn't very big, but we didn't have big people, so that's what I played. And I can jump pretty high, so it was really just basically getting my own rebounds was my strength. Just throw it up, grab the rebound, and get in a better position to put it back in the basket. So that was really my thing. And then I come into college, and they're like, "We're going to use you as a guard," and I'm like,
it was like that meme. It was like that GIF. Oh, the white guy that blinks.
I was like, great. I can't dribble. I can't do a lot of stuff. I was like, defense, not my greatest thing. I'm usually like a shot blocker in the paint. Like, someone just posts me up and I'll wait for them to try and shoot over me. But now I got to move. Now I got to really guard someone. And so it's been a fun experience, but I'm just kind of like, not my strong suit.
She has a move. A move. That's what she said.
She said she's got to move. She said she's got to move because she's guarding on the perimeter. Like, she has to move.
I have dumb brain, so you picked it up better than I did.
Well, Ashley, you just got to use your connections with San Diego State and give Kawhi a call. I'm sure he can give you a pointer or two.
Yeah, he'll probably help me out. I've actually seen him on campus a few times, and I'm just like trying not to fangirl, but I'm like, this is so cool. I just want to approach you.
You ever been close enough to hear him laugh?
No, he hasn't laughed. I walked past him while he was on the phone once, but I couldn't tell if it was like an intense conversation or if that's just what he looked like, because he was kind of intimidating.
He's a robot.
Yeah.
He's the Kawhi board.
I could only imagine you'd be like, Kawhi, could you help me with this? 100%.
Or imagine like wedding vows or like something where you have to have like emotion behind your speech. He's like, you know, when we first met, I laid eyes on you and I couldn't believe it, and then we fell in love, and here we are, and I love you so much. The most anticlimactic wedding ever.
Something he's not good at probably is being a hype man. But Ashlynn is known for being a hype man. I want to know, every single one of the pictures I look for, like posts that, hey, she's coming on the podcast, is you with your mouth open screaming. And I just want to know, what is the art to being a hype man?
I don't know, man. Like, I just get so, like, I'm so competitive, and I just get like so pumped up when like just great things happen. And so I just like, I see my photos all the time. I'm like, I should probably work on being more photogenic, but I'm just like constantly
she's sitting there. She's sitting there watching the game. Ah, oh.
Like it literally doesn't matter. Like every single shot that is of me, I'm just like screaming, mouth wide open, and I'm like, dang, do I look like that all the time? People probably think I'm crazy, but it's fine. But like I just get so hyped up just all the time.
Sauce can back me up on this. I would look the same way. If I was a college athlete, all these photos would be my mouth open, sweat from not doing anything besides screaming.
Yeah, so I just like in volleyball, like especially if we're like depending on who we're playing, like we're playing like a top ranked team in volleyball. We had two in our conference alone, and they were number 1 and 2 throughout the season. So like good competition and like close games where we're just like we get good kills or like we dig them, like they hit a hard ball and like we just get it up like it's nothing, and I'm just like, come, like let's go, like let's play. I'm ready.
You have to do it. You have to do it. It's a part of the game.
Well, yeah. the big teams that you're talking about, it's Texas has a really good team, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And then is it Nebraska's the other one?
Baylor's. Oh, Nebraska.
Baylor.
That's Big Ten sauce.
Oh, big brain.
Come on, guy.
Do you have like a go-to phrase that you just? It's like the thing that comes out of your mouth the most when you're hyped up, outside of like "Let's go."
That's what I was gonna say.
No, I actually like don't say anything. Like the main thing is like the facial expression. Like that says it all. Like sometimes, especially like if I block, I'll just like turn around and just like it's just like the stare down. Like you look at them, like you get hyped, but then you look at them like, I do this. Like this is what I do. So like the face says it all. Like sometimes I say something, but most of the time it's just like the facial expression.
She said, "I do this." She hit him with that. You remember when LeBron dunked on Jason Terry and then he just like stared down at him?
Yeah,
that's what she hits him with.
Yeah.
Like you really thought. You really thought.
Exactly.
So Ashlynn, we're sponsored by the CS Movement. Real quick, if you go to the csmovement.com. I just completely lost it. She's gonna kill us. Sorry, Courtney. If you go to csmovement.com and go to their store, find something you like, and at checkout use promo code Missed Call, you get 10% off of your order. But Ashlynn, this is our See Us question. And the thing that we want to ask you to kind of close out the podcast is, as a woman in sports, have you ever been judged based off of your appearance rather than your looks? And if you have, how do you deal with that? How do you try to get around that?
Yeah, obviously, like we were just talking about, like I'm a very passionate person. Like I'm screaming, I'm yelling all the time. And sometimes it's not always good. I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes I do get angry. And so it's just like something that, especially being a black woman, is like, oh, she's like an angry black woman. Like she's mad all the time. And then if I don't show those expressions, people are just like, what's wrong? Like, why do you look like that? Like, and it's just like, what do I do? Do I not say anything? And do I just be myself, or do I show a lot of emotion and then still get judged for it? So it's just kind of like, what do you want from me?
It's another one of those, it's not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most annoying. Well, I'm not going to do this when it's convenient for you. I'm going to do what's convenient for me.
Yeah.
Let me play the damn game.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, that's, I think would be like the main thing. It was like, I'm either the angry black woman or like I'm not doing enough. And I think like at St. Abe State, especially, like one of the things that my coaches would tell me is just like, you're not talking enough, or you're not showing enough emotion. But then when I do, it's not the right emotion, and it's just like, it's not a win. It's a lose-lose situation is basically
it's a catch-22 everything you do.
Huh?
It's a catch-22 with like everything you're doing.
Yeah. So
yeah, and it's kind of adding to what you're saying. It almost feels like it's like you're acting like they want you to be excited and you act excited, but you're not acting the excited that I want you to act. And that's like, I don't know. It almost makes it feel as though they're trying to be puppeteers. You know what I mean? And make people act a certain way, and that's kind of disingenuous and not very organic. And part of sports being so awesome is that you have so many unique individuals coming together and playing for that that objective of winning and winning titles and things like that. But at the same time, you're meshing all of these different characters together, and you're meshing all of these different ideas and people together, and in that process you get something that's really cool. So it's troubling. I would say, if I'm putting myself in your shoes, it would be troubling that somebody would want to put a cap on how I express myself.
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that drew me to Oklahoma with the volleyball staff, is like everyone on our team is different, and our coaches are like, everyone's different. Y'all are all going to play to your strengths. Y'all are going to play how you want to play, and you're going to be the player that you want to be. So it was just like, everyone's different, but we get to embrace and accept everyone for how they are. And we work so well together that it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, we have the same goal, and we can express it how we want to.
And every great team needs the silent beast, the hype man, and then everything in
Dennis
between.
Rodman.
Hey, so yeah, I need to go to Vegas for a couple weeks, and then I'll come back.
Right. If only that was how everyone's life worked in athletics.
I think it's only Dennis Rodman.
I know. I remember talking to my teammates. I was like, could you imagine if I was like, oh, hey, Sherry, like, I got to go to Vegas real quick. I'll be back for our game, though, or practice. Don't worry about it. She would be like, have you lost your mind?
Did you get a chance to watch the Jordan doc?
I did. I watched the whole thing.
What were your thoughts? Did you have anything that you really liked or something you really didn't like during it?
I love the whole thing. I'm diehard. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. You know, I'm gonna always have him at my number one. That's just how it's gonna be. I don't think anyone can ever sway me any other way. But I just love like getting to see him like behind the scenes. And some people I know like were like, oh, like he's kind of an asshole. And I'm just like, it's what it takes. Like at the end of the day, if he's making you win all these championships and he's making you a better version of yourself and he's bringing out the best in the team, then you just got to let it happen. And I think he literally changed the entire culture of the program, not just the program itself, but how the players thought about the program, how they thought about themselves, how they went about going into games rather than just like, oh, we have like another game. Oh, we have like another practice. It was like, no, we're going to go to this practice and we're going to be the best that we can in this practice. And that's going to translate into the game. Or like, oh, we're already down in this game. Give up. And he's like, no, you don't give up until the buzzer goes off and this game's over. Like, I think it spoke volumes to who he was as a player and a person and how he just strives to be the best at everything that he does.
Was there something during the doc that you saw that you like kind of like, I'm going to start implementing that in myself moving forward with basketball?
I'm like probably the biggest gym rat. Like I'm in the gym 24/7.
Because you can't sit still.
Yeah. And then it's also just something in me that's kind of like, if I don't feel like I'm where I need to be, then I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to get there and then continue to get better. And so like, whenever he talks about like just scrimmaging people when he first got there and like found the best player on the team and was like, all right, we're going to stay after and we're going to play 1-on-1. And then how he's like, oh, like, I wasn't the best player on the team for more than like a week or two after Michael Jordan got there because he eventually like passed me up. And so I think that's like really inspiring to me. I think I just always want to be better. And I just don't like not being like, I hate with a passion not being good at things. And so just always getting better and working hard. I think I'm always in the gym, but even more so, especially having to come back from an ACL tear and just get back to where I was, I think it's just going to be big.
Yeah, because I read that when you were struggling with your dribbling and stuff, you wanted to go back to the gym after you talked to your dad. Your dad's like, no, take a step back, give a break. And a lot of people forget to do that. Like a lot of people forget you need to take that step back sometimes just to like gather yourself. And I just thought it was awesome. Your dad's like, relax, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm like, I have to fix problems. And I remember that day so well. We had like a strictly like ball handling practice for the guards, and I was just like, oh God, like this is not the day for me. Like this is not gonna go well. And I was struggling, and I think I was just like so upset because of where we were as a team and where I wanted to be as an individual to help our team. And so I was just like, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, like this was the worst practice ever. Like, I'm so bad. I was like, I have to go back to the gym right now. And he's like, no, like calm down, collect yourself, and then we'll reassess. And I was like, okay. So I went, I got food, I calmed my nerves. And after that, I remember I went to Walmart, I got a tripod, I bought AirPods. And from that day on, it's just like extra sessions. I put my dad on FaceTime and just ask him, like, I would do my ball handling drills every single day. I would do shooting, shots off the dribble, shots off the move, just asking him as much as I could because, like, I knew I had to do more to be where I wanted to be and to be in a position to help our team the way I wanted to. So
That's awesome.
That is awesome. And this whole interview, I think, was awesome. I had such a good time talking with you, Ashlynn. I think I speak for Cub when I say that as well. And we appreciate, again, you coming on and giving us your time and having these conversations because, again, that's what's going to help educate and change the minds of Americans everywhere. And I feel like we all did a part in that today. You did the heavy lifting, of course, but we all did a part in that today. And that makes me feel good. So Ashlynn, this is that time of the podcast where if you have anything that you would like to plug, social media, something you're doing in your own life, whatever it is, if you want to plug it, this is your time.
well, I don't really do a lot, but feel free to follow me on all my social medias. I have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all same handles, Ashlynn23. You can find me there anywhere. If it's on social media, I'll pop up. And that's really it. I would just encourage everyone to educate themselves, not only on like what's happening right now, but just in general. I think knowledge is power. So just learn as much as you can.
Could have said it better. Yeah. I just want to say,
oh, go ahead, Cub.
Oklahoma's my favorite college, so I was so excited when you said yes to this because I'm such a big Boomer guy. Love the Sooners. I don't have any Sooner gear, but trust me, I'm a huge Sooner guy.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much for doing this. This means the world to us.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate you guys reaching out.
She appreciates us.
Oh my God.
Yes. Oh man. How much fun was that? That was a lot of fun.